wow, this is pretty good. you know, you know, it's amazing how when you make little change in something, and suddenly what you're really not that crazy about becomes amazingly wonderful. This tea is a Ceylon tea, 100% Ceylon tea, and but by itself, nothing mixed in it as far as any aroma or taste or anything. And I had finished my other package of tea, which was with cardamom, Ceylon with cardamom. So I opened this, and it was okay. But today I found the actual cardamom pods that I had somewhere, and it was all just sitting there. And I crushed them and put it in the tea that I was making. Wow! Suddenly, it's just what you would crave for. I mean, I crave for it. So it was a toss-up between making a video today or washing the fruits, mountains of fruits and vegetables that I brought. So guess who won? And both. So I just washed just a little bit of it, just to take care of my need and not more. And then I also able to make this video before this beautiful sunshine goes away. It's a very warm day today, and happy to be home and happy to be able to maybe share some views. You know, this whole business of feeling good, feeling bad has a lot to do with where we are at the moment. Now, when I say where we are at the moment, I'm not meaning geographically, like in a location, like if I'm outside of home, if I'm home, if I'm in the street, if I'm at work or what. No. What I mean is, if we are actually in the present moment when we are interacting with life. What do I mean is this: we're constantly accustomed to be somewhere in our memories rather than being where things are happening at that moment. In other videos, I consider that being in the present moment. And why is that important? Everybody talks about it, especially these days, which this whole business of now and the present moment and living in the present, and this whole understanding of this subject was pioneered by Mr. Jiddu Krishnamurti, which taught this for 60 years, if not longer, all around the world. I certainly find myself a student of his, and I enjoyed watching many of his interviews, lectures on internet, right here on internet. Never read his books or anything, but listening to him and trying to grasp what he was trying to inform us was very enlightening for me. And I try to use my own experiences in life and my own research about how mind works and so on, which started in university from the Japanese arts of martial arts, of Aikido, which talks about the relationship between mind and body and the relationship between our energy and the universal energy, nature's energy, and so on and so forth. So I'm trying to once in a while to use these combination of these knowledge and hope to illuminate some points for all of us, including myself and yourself. So the fact that we talk about living in the present and we understand what it means, But I like to see if we could relate it to the actuality of our life rather than just a theory of it. So let's examine it together, simply said. For example, we seem to be constantly roaming around in our memories and trying to find some similarities of experience between what is happening now and what has happened similar to what is happening now in the past, before, some experience that we had. And that automatically takes us away from where we are. Remember at the beginning of this video we said depending on where we are, because where we are is where this whatever it is happening. For example, a cherry. So where I am is where this cherry is and when I'm about to eat it, right? But what happens when I look at this cherry? I go where I was a child, and with my parents at the holiday time we went to my parents' friends' orchard, and the kids were playing, and there was a cherry tree, lots of them, and then we used to pick cherries, and you know how we ate as much as we ate and what the stem of it is good for, and all of that. What did it do? I was no longer here. I was no longer here talking to you and looking at this cherry. I was with a different cherry at a different time. Because a thought is time. A thought takes you way back in time and can also, by creating thought, time passes. Well, we don't want to get into that now. But, so, we have become accustomed to not really see the actuality of things and only interact with life through perception of things, which this perception of things totally affects the way we look at things and we deal with things, and things affect us. And if we learn not to perceive things, not to walk through life by perceiving what is happening, what is going on, and actually noticing and paying attention to what is going on, things would be much simpler. I believe maybe pain would be less, emotional pain would be less, and we would be more in control because we would be judging on what is happening rather than what we perceive it is happening. For example, if you have broken up with your girlfriend and after breakup, a few weeks later or whenever it is, a year later, a few weeks later, 2 days, I don't care, you see her somewhere, maybe in a car passing by, or she's driving her car, or she's sitting somewhere, she has a smile on her face, or she's eating something, or she's sitting with somebody intimately, or whatever the case may be. She has a maybe dressed up, maybe she's dressed up nicely or spiffied up, or she has a new handbag, or she has some kind of a nice looking handbag or shoes or something, or clothes, or her hair is neatly done. All of that is what is at that moment. But do you see that? Or do you go way somewhere else and perceive what you're seeing? Now, if you see what you're seeing in the actuality of it, well, you'd see somebody that you knew, somebody that you broke up, is doing something, whatever that is. She's eating, or she's talking with someone, or she's intimate with someone, or she's got a new boyfriend, or whatever the hell it may be, or she's driving a car, or she's shopping, or whatever. She has a smile on her face. No, what you just see it as it is. But what do? You don't see that. If she has a smile on her face, you perceive that smile as a sign of success, happiness, not being bothered with anything, and everything in her life being fine. Why? Because smile to you, in many movies that you've seen, many occasions that you've seen, many other people that you've seen, many other times in your memory, or yourself when you smile, You remember the times that everything was being shown as success, perfect, happy, no pain, no nothing. The memories that you have of the movies you saw, of the occasions, of the people that you saw. Then now you're looking at that smile that she may be having on her lips, but you're perceiving it. You're not really seeing it for what it is. You give it a subtitle. You give it a narration, which is of no reality, but you give it to her. So in other words, you really are not seeing the fact that, okay, it's someone who's dressed nicely, but that doesn't mean that she's got everything in her life figured out, or she's, I don't know, totally over you or not over you. The thoughts that you put behind this moment of something being represented to you, whatever picture that may be, whatever image that may be, you see it all with all kind of thing other than what it is. Because all you can say is, well, okay, it's, she's dressed maybe to, cover her pain. And maybe she's dressed so nicely to, I don't know, hope to meet somebody, or, just making herself feel good, or whatever it is. Not giving any narration to it, just seeing it as somebody dressed, somebody is walking, and this is what she's wearing, without any interpretation, without any perception of what you're seeing, just seeing what you're seeing. And if she's passing by in a car and she's doing something, suddenly you imagine everything in her life is fine, and she's busy going towards some kind of a project or some kind of a goal, and suddenly you perceive that she's happier than you and that she's got no problems in her life, and suddenly she becomes picture of happiness, which may or may not be true, but the fact would be, who cares? You should not perceive things, should not give story to things to create some image for yourself of what you're seeing, which may or may not be true. And most often what we really perceive people as is not true. It's just that we always thought others have better lives. We always thought the unknown is better than the known. So in other words, if you know your own life and you know what things you're dealing with, but you see somebody in the street and just having pretty much the same kind of clothes you have on, or the same kind of car you're driving on, but suddenly you think that person has got no problems. Somehow we've been conditioned through our lives to think that everything that we don't know, it doesn't belong to us, belongs to somebody else, is run better, is in better shape. It's the way they have somehow crushed our confidence while we're growing up and made us all feel that we have to be approved by someone other than ourselves, because we think whoever else from outside is approving us, we've been conditioned to think that that person can do things better than us, is got his or her life better than ours, figured out and managed. So therefore, an affirmation coming from that side would mean a lot and could define me, rather than me being defined by myself naturally, by how I live, how I feel. I'm always hanging on if somebody else who is unknown, but somehow we think they're better than us or do things better than us, we give this perception. We give stories to them. We give credentials to them. And God knows why. So, when we do that, neither we are doing justice to ourselves or to them, to the other people, because they could be really miserable and low lives and losers. And guess what? If they weren't losers, they wouldn't have caused us to let them go, or they wouldn't have left us, right? Isn't that great? Because honestly, you're such a good person, you're such a wonderful person with all proper morale and responsibility and so on and so forth. So if things don't work out, really, if we've been decent and good, it must be their lack of quality and deserving to be with us, right? However, so what you think is that you somehow don't focus on that, and you focus on things that don't exist. You perceive things you don't see. So suddenly, neither you're there mentally in your mind, you're somewhere else in a different point. You give them certain kind of credentials that it doesn't exist, they don't need and deserve it, but you somehow do, just because, I don't know, they have a nice handbag on, or they seem having a smile on their face, and then the rest of the perception is given to them. So neither you're judging it correctly, nor you're actually in that present moment, and you're causing to make things that are not accurate to become the actualities. So everything becomes a perception. Where you are, what you think of him, and what is not true, to make it, and you make your whole thing as an illusion, and then you react to the illusions that the perceptions that you just created. And you wonder why you feel bad. So because nothing is true. You actually created all these credentials and these narrations and these perceptions that you give. So what is the message? The message is just focus on what it is. You're having a teacup with a tea in it, just enjoy it. Don't think about which tea you had tasted the same, or what color, or where you had tea, because you lose that whole moment of enjoyment of this particular tea. Same thing with anything else that you want to do. You go out there, you pay attention to what you're doing without having to make any kind of a story for what you're doing, which would be other than what you're doing. So, if we would be kind to ourselves and pay attention to the fact that other people are not better than us. Other people have the same, if not worse, problems. But they try to put up a good show for themselves, to make themselves happy. I'm not saying this to make you happy that your ex is miserable or not miserable. Who cares? All I'm saying is that you live in your own moment and be focused with your own life and your own work and your own projects, and understand that they're so small, these whole things that you worry about. The relationship, that woman, why would that woman be so detrimental to your life? Why? Because we've been conditioned to think that ever since you were a child, you thought mother is very important, woman therefore becomes important. So anybody you see who's a female, you think it's also a mother, or can be a mother, or can be a woman, can be a homemaker, can be a family maker. That's not true. Just because somebody is a female doesn't make her a woman. Just like somebody who's a male, that doesn't mean he's a man. Being a man is character. Being a man is manners, ability to be responsible, ability to lead and provide solutions and grind through the challenges of life, and be decent, be kind, and be helpful, help things grow, understanding, compassionate, strong. That is the meaning of being strong, and that's being a man. A woman the same, but unfortunately, as soon as we see someone with two legs and pretty looks, or the hair and this and that, suddenly we think that's a woman. No, that's a female. That's why when they leave, or something happens that you get rid of them, or they leave, or it breaks up the relationship, you seem to find yourself shocked. Why? Because you thought of him as a woman, and a woman had this definition to you as a mother, as a decent, loyal, sacrificing, wise, patient human being. A woman. How our mothers were, how mothers of our mothers were in the older times, how we constantly trying to see everybody else with how we've been learned. Oh, just let me get this. I lost you guys. There you go. It's how we have learned to perceive what woman is, rather than really see if that female is a woman or not. We give all these, again, we look at the female with what is in our head, the memory that we have from history and movies and family stories of how a mother is, how a woman was and should be, or all that. But instead, why don't we just see her because of her reactions and actions and manners and morals and how she behaves and how she treats us, how she appreciates how we treat her. Why don't we see it exactly as it is, rather than giving all these perceptions and credentials to them because that's what we have in our memories as a picture of a woman. We can't look at every female with the same picture that we have of a woman in our heads. That's not doing justice to her, of course, because she's not endowed with all those credentials, and also not to do justice to ourselves, to live with reality and know the actuality of things. So therefore, when things don't work out, you're shocked, because you had given her so much of those wonderful qualities that you had in your memories. You perceived what being a woman is from what you had heard and learned throughout your life, that now it's all contrary, her behavior, to what you thought it should be, as far as decency and loyalty and class and all the other good things that we all expect and deserve to expect and should expect in order to build some life with someone decent. Then we get shocked. How come it's not like that? Well, look, because you were perceiving her rather than seeing her as it was. That's why it's so important to live in the moment, to see what the moment is offering and containing, and how things are blooming in that moment, how things are arising, how things are developing as it is developing, and be fully focused on that and see it as it is, the actuality and the reality of it, rather than this perception of the wonderful woman just because she's with us and we love her and she must be nice. Why? Because we chose her. How could our ego allow us that what we have chosen would be bad? How could we think that what we have chosen could not be the right one, could not be the right woman, could not be a good woman, could not be a high quality of woman? We can't deny, we can't go against our own choice. So again, the ego gets into the picture, and because I've chosen it, then it must be good. And then I look at it with all the memory and information I have in my memory about the quality of a woman, not really as she is. So I'm perceiving her and her qualities, and then that plus the fact that I chose it, so I've got an ego, so it must be good because it's my choice. I can't go against my own choice. So therefore, I'm totally convinced that this is a perfect woman, and then I'm totally shocked when I see she turned out to be not decent, or she turned out to be not loyal, or she turned out to be not benefiting from good morals and good judgments, or all the other things that you may see your ex after breakup somewhere in some situation or condition or whatever, and then you are totally shocked that how could she be with somebody else so soon? What kind of a quality of a person or emotion or respect does it show to the relationship that I had with her? Well, guess what? All along, you were not seeing who she was. You were just considering as a female, and she's intimate with you, therefore it feels good. Therefore, you were not really seeing anything else. You were just after your own, desire, and not really seeing who she was, what she was, and you were just making her feel, in your own mind, making her something that she wasn't, giving all these things credentials to her, because they would also make you feel good, because you would feel you've chosen correctly. Anyhow, on that note, let's stop perceiving things, let's see things as they are. That would probably make us a little bit feel a little bit better. And don't be shocked when you see your ex, whether you're a woman watching this, your ex, or whether you're a man watching this, whether you see your ex with someone or without, alone or whatnot, don't perceive it. Just say, okay, oh, it's in someone, who cares? Don't even be bothered. Don't be shocked. And remember, you're shocked because you never really paid attention her qualities, her class, her manners, who she was. You were just in your own thoughts and perceiving her rather than seeing her. On that note, enjoy your life, have values and worth for yourself by yourself. You don't need anybody else's approval. Seeing your ex with somebody else does not take anything away from you. It just shows you what they were all about, which you never actually noticed until now, which is your freedom, which is your happy day, your lucky day. You gotta count your stars that you were actually able to see this, to have this relationship breaking up, because you weren't seeing her, you were perceiving, and you were building a relationship based on perception and not the actuality. And somehow nature put the actuality in front of you, got rid of that relationship, and freed you to go and find your way throughout this journey of life. Have a nice day, and talk to you soon.